Good afternoon from the Commission chambers at the Fargo City Hall. I'm joined today by West Fargo Commissioner President Bernie Dardis, Cass County Chair Chad Peterson, and Fargo Park Board President Jerry Rosted. We are here today to discuss a new directive from our Fargo-West Fargo Metro. It's called Stay Home, Save Lives. I have 5 main points I'd like to discuss with you today. Number 1, this is a pandemic unlike any other crisis. In a flood, we can easily predict how the conditions will impact the future crest thanks to so many years of experience. This is an entirely different challenge. We do not have 100 years of reports to predict the COVID-19 beast. We do, however, have the ability to affect the duration of this viral curve and the number of people infected. This will and is more serious than floods. Many people are losing their lives in the United States, including people in our county. Healthcare systems across the nation are being overwhelmed. Our local economy is already being severely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Number 2, required 100% activation. In a flood event, 2 to 5% of our residents physically volunteer to produce sandbags. But if we failed in a flood, every person in Fargo will be affected. COVID-19 pandemic, however, requires 100% of our residents to activate themselves to minimize this local disaster, which is already impacting every person in our metro. I need 100% engagement. This is not never leave your house order. Instead, I'm trusting each of you to be North Dakota smart, as Governor Burgum has directed. We are standing here today in full support of North Dakota statewide efforts. By using these local orders, we are supporting Governor Burgum's work by issuing specific guidance to the residents of Fargo and West Fargo to make sure everybody is taking this as seriously as possible. This is important. I'm asking you to think twice before you leave your home. Be smart when you do things. When you need to go get groceries, do it in a reasonable way. There's no reason to turn a trip into a social excursion or a hoarding food exercise. When grabbing takeout from one of our great local restaurants, be respectful of the restaurant employee who is seeing dozens of people every day. Keep physical distance between you and them and wear a mask at that encounter. Number 3, you can be a lifesaver. In many national crises, we feel helpless as we cannot offer direct assistance. In this situation, we can make a difference, especially in a rural state like North Dakota. We've seen differences in modeling with some projections of 30% community infection rate in North Dakota and others projecting 80% community infection. We need to engage in this much more than wishful thinking to keep this infection rate much closer to the lower percentage of community spread. We can and should put these measures in place immediately. Following the new CDC guidelines and beginning wearing masks when you make essential trips outside your home in order to protect you and those around you. Masks are not meant to take the place of physical distancing and good hand washing hygiene, but they can be valuable as an additional strategy to slow down the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Our frontline defenses against the virus are our healthcare professionals, public health experts, and our first responders. It is important to remember that these people could actually be the same ones we are encountering when we are purchasing groceries or going to the pharmacy. Wearing these masks protects our front line's defense by allowing them to stay healthy so they can save lives, maybe even your own. Number 4, save our summer. Even though you are young and experiencing no symptoms, you could be a carrier and infecting people all around you, all ages. We are seeing that 55% of Cass COVID-19 positive cases are under the age of 40. We are clearly not getting through to you, so let's personalize this a little bit more. You likely enjoy your summers in the Red River Valley and everything they entail. Think about these events: outdoor concerts at the Blue Stem, Red Hawk Games, Downtown Street Fair, Happy Harry's Rick Fest, TEDx, Red River Valley Fair, the 4th of July festivities, just to name a few. We could all miss out on these events if we are still in a period of social distancing because the virus is running rampant. The only things that determine whether or not we still in a period of social distancing is you. And if we can get this virus handled, we can have a great summer. So how do we get COVID-19 under control? Well, there are many unknowns about this virus, but one thing we do know, without human contact, the spread of COVID-19 will cease. Did you know Fargo is even known as the city of parks? And I'll tell you, I love our parks more than anyone. But for the next month, we cannot have what I saw last week. With 10 people who otherwise wouldn't have had contact with each other were getting together for a basketball game at Island Park. This close contact is dangerous right now. If one of those 10 people were a carrier and did not know it, that person could infect other players. Each of them could infect an additional 16. That's how this spreads to 160 people because of one game of pickup basketball. Know that social distancing is critically important. And number 5, we the people can end this crisis. Your city, state, and federal governments can and are putting substantial resources and personnel into place to respond to COVID-19. We are trying to attack this threefold. 1, by community education, 2, by prevention, and 3, by thorough treatment. The government alone, however, cannot solve this crisis. We, the people, are the ones who can mitigate the spread in the community. All of this is for nothing if our people continue to be carriers and transmitters of this virus. As a physician, as a father, as a husband of a frontline nurse, as a Fargo COVID-19 incident commander, and as your mayor, I feel it is my duty to issue a stay home, save lives directive at this time. We recently heard from the U.S. Surgeon General, this is the time we can make the most impact over the next few weeks. We would rather be accused of doing too much than doing too little. We cannot be wrong on this. And I'm doing what I feel is best for our community and our people. This is real, and it is time for real actions by our citizens. Today, we're doubling down on the governor's actions and orders by issuing these local directives. We're making sure that people understand the importance. Let me be clear, this is not a shelter-in-place order. This is not a mass business closure. This is an order requiring our people to stay smart by staying home whenever possible to stop the spread and to save lives. Make a difference now. We need you to take us seriously. We need you to take our governor seriously. And our world needs each of you to take the virus seriously. This is one of the biggest crises we have ever faced in our community's history. Now is the time. Stay home to save lives. Thank you. Now let me introduce West Fargo Commissioner President Bernie Dardis.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I start today on some of the particular comments, I would like to reiterate something that the mayor just said. This morning, there was a lot of speculation as to what this press conference was going to be about, what this directive was going to be about. And I want the public to understand, everyone that's listening, that this mayor and that commission president, we are all lockstep with Governor Burgum and his staff in the initiatives and the orders that they have been providing and the leadership they've been providing the state of North Dakota. Absolutely in lockstep. Part of the reason that we decided that we would do this early in this week is because of the blessed holiday of Easter coming up. We're doing this to impress upon you how important it is that you stay home, you stay healthy, and that in result will keep us from losing more lives in the state of North Dakota. Because of this Easter holiday, it's my second favorite holiday of the year. We want you to be home with your families. We want you to be safe. We want you to be healthy. And like the mayor had said, if your family becomes bored, go for a drive. Use the walking paths that we have in the community. Please don't go shopping as something to do. The social distance is imperative. And if you do, I'm standing before you this morning which I'm very uncomfortable doing, and I've got gloves on, and I wear a mask when I'm out in public. Why? Because the CDC has issued that's probably one of the new prerogatives and one of the new safeguards that we can have. So again, as we enter the Easter holiday, do everything that you can to stay safe and stay healthy and enjoy that holiday with your family. I've reflected during this difficult time of what I, as a grandfather, as a father, as a husband, would do to keep my family safe. Looking foolish walking around out in the public with a mask or wearing painter's gloves. They're not surgical gloves, Mayor. They're not surgical. They're painter's gloves. It's challenging for me because of my personality. My family had a conversation with me, and they wanted me to be safe. We had this conversation last week. And then the wonderful people that I work with in West Fargo, the department heads, the city administrator, the police department, the fire department, all those wonderful people were concerned about it because this group of people is often in front of the public. And they voiced their concerns for my safety. I'm 67 years old, and I'm a survivor of open heart surgery. So I'm one of those people that's absolutely at risk. So again, it's the Easter holiday. Do all that you can to keep yourself healthy, keep your families healthy, because I'll go to any length to protect my family. Governor Burgum, Lieutenant Governor Sanford has been on our, I would guess since last several weeks, on an average, Mr. Peterson, Mayor, 4 times a week, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, working with us intimately, sharing the data, sharing what's happening, sharing the numbers with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are led by extraordinary leadership right now in the county, in that city, and I'm trying hard, and certainly by our state leadership. So again, please follow these directives. I want to read you one of the portions. Everybody would kind of expect this of me with my 43 years in business. And part of the directive that I wrote and my team wrote is the City of West Fargo acknowledges and appreciates the sacrifice these businesses, their employees, and other workers are making in order to stem the tide of COVID-19. As the number of COVID-19 cases and deaths continue to rise in the world, the nation, and our beautiful state, including the City of West Fargo, each resident, each adult, each child, each family, each business, and each store must do more. As a community, we must do our part to reduce the spread of the deadly COVID-19 disease, and therefore, that is why there's a directive coming out. Again, if some of you were concerned or scared a little bit this morning with some of the early releases that the media was using, my sincere apologies. We're doing this for our communities, for our county, and we can only ask that you can make a difference. You can make a difference. Thank you very much.
Bernie Dardis, thank you very much for your steady leadership and your partnership. We always leave it to you to bring it home when we start talking about our families. So we very much appreciate that, and I'm glad you're wearing a mask. Our next speaker is Fargo Park Board President Jerry Rosted.
Thank you, Mayor, Mr. President. being here on behalf of the Park District, I want to start with some interesting data. This slide we're looking at comes out of Google's COVID-19 Community Mobility Report. And it's a global report, and you can drill down into North Dakota and then drill down into Cass County. But the data trend lines are very interesting to see that grocery store and pharmacy traffic over on the mobility trend is down about 13%. It says retail and recreation. I think that's mostly retail and restaurants, cafes, things like that. The trend is down 44%, but if you look at the mobility trend in our parks, it's up 73% across the state, and this data is good through March 29th, which was a week ago Sunday. So it's a week behind, and we had a snowstorm between last week and this week, but with the weather the way it is again now, I'm sure that the trend will stay solid and even go up. And in Cass County, the trend is at 69%, so it's a little bit off the full-on state number, but clearly shows that our parks and recreational facilities are something that people can turn to in this time. And if we can go to the next slide, what I'd like to say next is, and this comes from the North Dakota Recs and Parks Association, a statement that they put out. They said, "We think parks can be kept in operation as long as users keep their distance. And if parks become a gathering place, then closure may be needed." So that's the bottom line here. We can keep our parks in operation, and as long as users are following the distance guidelines, we can keep them open, and they can be a place for you to go to as you so desire. One of the things that parks offers that I think is important is it particularly in our time now, is it helps for stress levels and find ways to remain active while practicing good social distances. As part of the COVID-19 concerns, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends taking care of your body by trying to eat healthy, well-balanced meals and staying active. And according to the National Parks and Recs Association, local parks, trails, and open spaces have become a haven and a place of respite from the daily stresses that a lot of us are going through as we work through this COVID-19 pandemic. So when you're out in the parks and you're on the trails, here's some tips that we'd like you to practice and be responsible when you're out there. Number one, share the trail and warn other trail users of your presence as you pass. Two, always observe the 6-foot spacing rule when using any public facilities. Do not gather in large groups. If 10 or more people are using a facility or an amenity, do not go there, and we ask that you disperse. Find a different location or come back when it's at a later time when it's less busy. Modify the activity to meet size and distance requirements. Parks and trails and green spaces remain open, but the Fargo Park District encourages the public to limit use to responsible ways to protect public health and safety. We are encouraging limited use of playgrounds and play structures, basketball courts, tennis courts, and ball fields during this time. And please make sure to bring your masks, any kind of material, sanitizers, wipes, things like that, just to wipe things down before you start, getting on a swing or something like that. So we actually feel comfortable that the parks can be a safe haven as we go through this time, but we have to follow the guidelines. And if we don't, then we potentially put ourselves and our community at risk. So it's a good news, bad news thing. The good news is use the parks, but do it respectfully so we can stay safe. I love this community, growing up here, and we just want to get through this, more from a personal note, as the mayor's talked about. We've got family, we've got friends, we got people we want to stay safe, and we want to just get through this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. You've been a strong partner, and I appreciate your efforts in helping us combat this crisis with us. I do know that your team will relook at this as time goes on to make sure people are following the guidelines you've set out there and would change accordingly. Our next speaker is Cass County Chair Chad Peterson.
Hello, everyone. Two thoughts and a story, because we all like stories. First thought, thank you. Thank you to the governor. Thank you to the gentlemen that are here with me. Thank you to their commissions. Thank you to mine. Thank you to your boards. There's been a lot of local leaders that made a lot of tough choices, and for that I'm grateful. Governor Burgum, Lieutenant Governor Sanford, thank you too. We are grateful for your leadership, proud for your leadership, and your decision-making has been on point. We counsel with you, certainly every day if we can, weekly, no matter what. We listen to your briefings and learn. That's our job, to become educated so we can make the best decisions we can possibly make. Just as importantly as that, thank you to all our local business owners. Be you open, be you closed, your staff, be you employed, or be you out of work. Your sacrifices, I hope you understand and can appreciate how grateful we are for that. We're going to get through this, and know that the practices talked about today and the directives given in the leadership direction by Governor Burgum in terms of social distancing, taking care of your house as best you can, are solid guidance. And know that we in Cass County are doing the same. Within your Cass County government, we have over half our people working remotely. Our deputies are always working remotely because they're in their squad cars zipping around the county, protecting you and making sure your property and your people are safe. We're practicing what we preach as best we can. So thank you to my team, thank you to you, and now on to my story. For those of you who didn't live here in 2009, we had a thing happen here in the Fargo-Moorhead area. It was a flood. It was bad. We knew it was going to be bad, we just didn't know how bad. As the waters rose, we started making different decisions. We started protecting our property more, talking to our family and neighbors more. We all learned what elevation our homes are at. Things we never thought we'd have to worry about, especially in the downtown areas far away from the river. As the water rose, the National Guard showed up. Black Hawks were flying over the top of my house with giant sandbags to protect my friends over at the Oak Grove School. My wife was pregnant with my daughter. We all were under stress, to one degree or another. As the water got higher, national leaders told us we have to abandon Fargo. We have to leave for safety of property and safety of men and women. My then mayor, Wallaker, said no. My people are my strength. My people are the ones who are going to save this town. The mayor, county commissioners, other community leaders within other towns agreed. So we stayed, and we lasted, and we fought the flood and won. Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo, Cass, Clay, North Dakota, Minnesota, we've been through this before. It's just different this time. Our people are still strong. Our people are our strength. I believe in you, the people behind me believe in you, the people in the courthouse, the city halls, all believe in you. Please, prove us right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. We very much appreciate that. And you're always the one to kind of think about what different things hit us as well. So we appreciate that. We just want to reiterate one more time. We need you to incorporate these 5 main points immediately. This is a pandemic unlike any other crisis. It requires 100% activation. You can be a lifesaver by following the simple rules we've laid out here today. We want to save our summer, because if we can save our summer, if we can get through this sooner, we'll get to the summer faster. We're going to stay apart so we can come together sooner. And lastly, we the people can end this crisis. We can do this together, and we will save lives. We will now sign the directives that Bernie Dardis and I have done, are written up here today. And again, we're not shutting down anything, we're not changing anything, we're just asking you to be more cognitive of what we're asking every one of you as an individual. Think seriously how you can get rid of the pandemic. It's your individual actions that will make this go away. So thank you.